welcome to SL Podcast World News. My name is Goddess Empress Amin Ra, your morning anchor, and today I am in the studio alone. And that's because we have a special edition of SL World News, one of a 5-part series. But before we get into that, let's get into the announcements. In announcements, SL Podcast World News is still hiring for live field reporters. Our field reporters will be responsible for going out on the grid to capture live events, conduct interviews with SL entrepreneurs, and report back to anchor management. These candidates will possess a great personality, they'll have their own live stream, and they must have a working knowledge of the OBS software. Anyone interested can contact me, Jason's Lyric Resident, for more information. And other announcements, SL Podcast World News is now offering services for event advertisement, commercials, and SL entrepreneur interviews. Pricing for these services can be found at the front desk of the station located on the aisle sim. And now back to the news. As I said before, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Goddess Empress Amin Ra, and I'm here today with my co-host.
Hey, Almighty, Amin Ra.
Hey, Almighty, how are you today?
I'm great about yourself, Empress.
I'm doing good. And today we are bringing you a special edition of SL Podcast entitled Let's Talk. Today we're going to be diving into the Kim Porter story, the book entitled Kim's Lost Words, that seems to be blowing up the internet. Almighty, what do you think about this book?
Oh, this one is shoots. Wait.
Now, as you guys know, we have been covering, we covered the P. Diddy story on SL World News Podcast. We covered his arrest. We covered the indictment charges, and we also covered a story just yesterday where Suge Knight addressed those who knew about the incidents that was going on with the P. Diddy scandal. Today, we're going to be diving into this book, and we're going to be hearing a lot of things from allegedly the words of Kim Porter. Now, before we get started, we just want to let you guys know that allegedly this book was published by Jamal T. Millwood, who happens to be a pseudonym for Mr. Todd. So we don't know, we can't say 100% for sure that these are Kim's lost words because we don't know. But this book is setting the internet ablaze, and we wanted to give you guys an exclusive and give you guys a first look into this book. Almighty?
Yes, this book is going to be, I've read a little bit of it, so this is going to be pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So y'all better stay in before y'all miss out.
All right, so let's dive into it. Before we get started, the first thing we notice in this book, there's a disclaimer. The disclaimer reads, one of Kim Porter's final wishes was for this memoir diary to be made public. Out of protection for certain parties and their potential criminal activity, some celebrities, performers, and events have been represented with X's due to their high explosive nature, and at some point in the future, this information will be revealed to the public regarding Kim's sudden death and the mysterious illness of Albie Shore and Jamie Foxx. Evidence does exist that points to foul play and or poisoning. God bless Kim Porter and all of Sean Combs' victims, both male and female. That disclaimer alone it says a lot. What do you think, Almighty?
Oh, yes. I mean, from what I read yesterday, it brought back memories from all this stuff when it was going down. So, some of it really makes sense, to be honest with you.
Right.
Really, so.
But there has been a lot of rumors swirling and surfacing around P. Diddy for years. And so now this is supposed to be Kim Porter's words, what she endured, firsthand experience of what she endured during her time with P. Diddy. So let's get into the first chapter. Well, this is a table of contents. They have chapter 1, the introduction. Chapter 2, humble beginnings. Chapter 3, second chances. Chapter 4, forgiveness. Chapter 5, Sean Neals. Chapter 6, Pac. Chapter 7, threats. Chapter 8, Kadada. Chapter 9, Going Back to Cali. Chapter 10, The Lies You Tell. Chapter 11, Mo Problems. Chapter 12, A Mama's Love. Chapter 13, Have Some Faith. Chapter 14, Outshine. Chapter 15, Queen Bitch. Chapter 16, Christian. Chapter 17, Broken Promises. Chapter 18, Sweet Goodbyes. And Chapter 19, the finale. So let's get into it. Chapter 1 is the introduction. So I'm going to start by reading the first chapter, which is the introduction. It says, soon after school, I started landing modeling jobs. I couldn't believe it. It was all happening so fast. I met my husband, father of my oldest child, one of my oldest friends in life, Al B. Shore. It was a whirlwind romance. I was only 19 when we married, and no, it didn't work out. Al is still one of my best friends to this day. Our son Quincy is such a talented and wonderful young man. At that time, I had no idea my relationship with Al was going to introduce me to the man that I would spend the better part of my adult life with, a man whom I would love and cherish, but eventually fear and hate. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but I will say, although I knew what was going on, I turned a blind eye many times. Here, I have to tell the truth. Unfortunately, because deep down I knew everything that was happening, but I lied to myself a lot. He was so charming, a wolf in sheep's clothing, a devil, and I fell for it. This story must be told despite the fact that it will hurt my children. I cannot hide it any longer. Sean Combs must be stopped. So that's the introduction. And let me just say, that introduction is chilling. What do you think about it, Almighty?
Shoot, from the beginning, that shit sound like see, I don't know, boy. Shit, let's see. I can't wait. Come on.
Okay. Getting over to chapter 2, Humble Beginnings. I was born to loving parents, Jake Porter and Sarah L. Porter, in the Peach State of Georgia. Although Columbus High School, where I graduated in 1988, I knew I was going to be famous. In the 10th grade, one of my best friends, Tina, said to me, "You won't make it here in Georgia." I knew if I really wanted to be famous, I would have to leave my hometown and my home, Georgia. That conversation was so important as I look back now. It changed my life. I met Al while I was working in the industry. He was so dope and charming, and I had such a crush on him. We were married before I knew it, and Quincy was on the way. But I was young, and I just felt like it wasn't going to last. It was a little heated between us after we separated, but we got past that quickly. He is just a super dope guy and an amazing father. Though we separated, we are forever bonded through Quincy. Thank you, Al. I will always love you. When I met Sean, he was cool. I didn't think much of him at the time. He was just another guy at the label, but Sean continued to lay on the charm, and before I knew it, we were dating. As a young single mom at one of the hottest companies in the world, life couldn't get any better. Then it did. My boyfriend was getting even bigger. Now we're going to take a pause right there, and let's discuss that for a minute, Almighty. She said that her relationship with Al B. Shore started right before she met Sean Combs, and he kind of introduced her to him. Is that what you got from that?
Yeah, that's what I got from it.
Okay. Now, these pages are kind of out of order, so I'm going to need you guys to bear with me so I can find the rest of this. Okay. And he says, he and Clive would hang out a lot, but I didn't think anything of it. I mean, that was his boss, and he was doing things bigger than most men dare to even dream. Then it happened. I mean, okay, I was a little bit of a freak. I really enjoyed myself with my partner, and toys are one thing, but I never imagined having a man I was dating asking me to use a toy on him. The first time he said he just wanted to experiment, try something new. I was grossed out, but he kept begging. He said it would only be this one time, and he was just curious. I was only 20 at the time. I said, "What the hell? I hated it." He bled from it, and there was ish on it. I left him alone after that. Um, Let me stop right here and just say, if you are watching this podcast and you have little kids in the room, of course, there's going to be a lot of details introduced in this book, so you may want to have the kids leave the room. All right, let's get back into it. We're going to start chapter 3. And let me make sure you guys can see that. All right, chapter 3. Now these chapters are very small. Actually, they're not as it's not as long as I thought they would be. They are about 2 and 3 pages long. Chapter 3 is called Second Chances. Sean kept reaching out and I kept ignoring his calls. Eventually, in a few weeks, we ran into each other at an event. He came over and sat next to me. We were cordial. He flattered me by saying, "You look so amazing." I replied with a simple, "Thanks, Sean." I tried to get up to leave, but he pulled my arm, and as I turned to him, he looked deep into my eyes and said, "Look, what happened between us was weird, but I really care about you. Can we?" He paused, and I tried to use this as my attempt to escape. I pulled my hand back and said, "Sorry, Sean, I have to go." "Please, I think I'm falling in love with you. Can we talk?" My breath was taken away. Did he say he loved me? It was so fast. I wasn't aware of this as his manipulation tactic. Not yet. God, I was so young and so naive. He continued, "Let's just have dinner," and I fell for it. 2 days later, we went out for drinks at a lounge in Lower Manhattan. The place was so nice. Sean was really coming up and pulling out all the stops to impress me. He pulled the chair out for me to sit. Back then, he was always a gentleman. He smiled and said, "Look," as he sat across from me. I hated it, and I never want to do it again. Give me another chance. Over coffee the next morning, I decided to give him another chance. For the next year and a half, things seemed pretty normal. It was fun. Things were going great, and were living we were living the dream that I had dreamt about throughout my youth. Sean and Clive were working on Bad Boy, and he had this first couple. Excuse me, and he had his first couple of artists. He picked up Craig Mack, then some rapper from the West Coast called Notorious B1 to help Chris develop. He was he was collaborating with the biggest names in hip hop to make it happen. Things cannot be more amazing. Then he asked me to do it again. It was insane. Sean said, "Baby, I can't stop thinking about it." "What the hell are you talking about?" I responded. Sean continued, "I just can't stop thinking about that night. It was amazing. Can you screw me one more time, please?" I became infuriated. "Why don't you go to Clive? He's the one screwing you, isn't he?" Sean hit me. This was the first time, but he slapped me so hard. Before I could form the words, he began to beg. I'm sorry." Holding my cheek where he hit me, I turned and ran off. That should have been it, but I guess I was glutton for punishment. He sent flowers and a bunch of expensive gifts. Then we bumped into each other at another industry event. He sat down next to me. This was deja vu. Sean started. Imagine run, Imagine running into you here. Get the fuck away from me," I forced out. He became more serious as he said, "Look, baby, I'm sorry," but I just glared at him. "There is nothing you can ever say to me, nothing." After an awkward silence, he finished, "You know I love you. I love your son. He's my son. I don't know how to fix this, but I'll do anything. I'm sorry. Shit. He can be sweet, so sweet. He, excuse me. Shit, he can be sweet. Here we go with the love thing. This time, it's not falling in. He was great with Quincy, and to be honest, despite everything, I missed him. As he stood to walk away, I remember hearing myself saying, "Call me later." What the fuck was wrong with me? So we're gonna stop right here and discuss chapters 1 through 3. Now, so far, what I'm gathering from chapters 1 through 3 is that um, Sean Combs uh, is a bit of a narcissist. What do you think, Almighty?
Yeah, P Diddy, he has some very deep, dark sexual desires. Clearly,
Yes. And the first time that they had intercourse, he immediately wanted her to use a butt plug on him. That's
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me.
right. So did I was I mistaken when I heard her say that she told him get Clive to do it? Because isn't that who's screwing you anyway?
No, he was not mistaken. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So as you can see, this is really starting off very, very juicy. If you guys want to get the rest of the tea, you got to stay tuned in. This is going to be a 5-day series. Um, each day we're going to read 3 chapters of the book until we finish it. And like I say, the chapters are very short. They're not as long as I thought they would be, and it's not detailing as much information so far that I thought it would be. But I kind of skimmed the book a little bit a little bit ahead just to see what was in it. And I'm telling you guys, you don't want to miss out on what's coming up next. So, what do you want? What do you think about what you've heard so far, Almighty?
Well, from what I've heard so far, Diddy had some secrets,
Mm-hmm.
and he was trying to get Kim to get down, to what he liked to do. So, but she wasn't really kind of down with that. Clearly,
Isn't it kind of weird though how he used her how he used her son to get to her, talking about Quincy being his son, and I mean, it's like he was working straight from a narcissist playbook. What do you think about that? Do you think narcissistic men, use women's children that's not theirs to kind of finagle their way into these women's lives?
I mean, most men do it, but that doesn't mean that they are narcissists. Narcissist, well, it
Narcissistic.
doesn't mean, yeah, not they. That doesn't. Got me tongue twisting my words here. That doesn't mean they are narcissistic. Most men usually,
Well, in
tend to
this
be
case, I
kids
think we kind of
first.
know that Sean Combs is a narcissistic man, and
Right, right.
because
In
it
this case,
takes
yes.
right, because it takes a narcissistic man to beat on a woman, to be a control. He has controlling issues or whatnot. So just based off the simple stuff that's already come out about him, I mean, you can tell that Sean Combs is definitely a narcissistic man. But you don't. To me, I feel like that was like a power move. As a woman, hearing a man, most women, single women that's raising their kids by themselves, they long to hear a man come along and want to be a father figure in their child's life. So I felt like he used that as a play to move in on her. You don't think that?
No, I don't think that. I don't think that.
So
Like I
you
say,
think he
most.
legitimately wanted to take care of
Yes,
her son?
yes, legitimate. Yes, I believe so. Yes,
Okay.
because when you enter a relationship with a single mother,
Hmm.
you have to love the child too.
That's true.
Because if you don't, the relationship would not work. You know what I mean?
And you know what? I do believe that's true. I do believe that men, there are some really good men out here that's willing to come in and come into a ready-made family already and take care of the child, and they mean it sincerely from their heart. But I don't know. I'm just getting these vibes that with everything we've heard about P Diddy, having sex with underage kids and stuff, I would kind of be worried.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
I'm
Allegedly,
sorry.
you're right, allegedly. So I would kind of be worried to have my children around someone who has these kinds of rumors swirling around and surfacing about him. I don't know. This is just me as a mother. I'm very protective though. As a mom, I'm very very protective of my kids. And so if I had someone who had these kinds of rumors swirling around about them, I don't know how comfortable I would be allowing this person to be around my child.
Well, you got to look at it like this. Back then he wasn't doing those things. So you remember she said he was a nice, sweet guy back then.
Okay,
That's before he had power. See, with money and power, you into a lot of shit when it comes with money and power.
this
So
is
he was
true.
just getting started.
Absolutely.
Your
Well,
inner deep dark desires, start kicking in when you had that money and power.
and you know what, you're absolutely right, this is true. I just kind of couldn't understand why. Maybe I'm putting the cart before the horse, and I'm just trying to think of, in my mind I'm just thinking, there's a lot of things. These rumors did not just start about P Diddy. These rumors been like servicing about P Diddy since I was a young girl, about him being bisexual, about him messing with guys in the industry, about his thing with Usher. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see as the book goes on if Kim felt like he was a danger to her son or not. But for just reading the first 3 pages, I just kind of felt like he was using power moves on her, and all the way from the beginning. I see power moves, but we'll see.
Well, I believe you're going into it biased right now. At the beginning, you're going into it real biased. Because
That's very
like I,
much so possible. That's very much so possible.
like I said, most men, if they dating a single mother, they always, try to tend to the kids and the woman. Because without the children, if you don't like the children, you can't like the mother.
Absolutely. Well, I will say this. So far, it's starting off as a good read. We want to stay posted with you guys, so we're not going to read ahead. Tomorrow, tune in at the same time. We'll have the second part. That'll be chapters 4 through 6. So we look forward to sharing this information with you guys. We hope you guys like this special edition segment that we're putting together. At any time, if you have information or any news or anything you want to see on Let's Talk, please, by all means, give us a email at slpodcastworldnews at gmail.com. Anything you want to add, Almighty?
No, actually, just stay tuned for the rest of the book. It's gonna get even more juicier. This is just nothing, basically, what we just read to you. So stay tuned. Do not miss out.
All right. Until next time, we'll see you then. Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Well, there you have it. Our first of a 5 part series. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate all the support. Please click that bell to subscribe, like, and comment. If you have any questions or have anything you want to be seen on the broadcast, you can email us at slpodcastworldnews at gmail.com. Until then, we'll see you next time.